I started watching Full Metal Alchemist, and I have to say that I'm really impressed with it so far. I like to think that I know decent anime. Cowboy Bebop, right off the top of my head, Monster, and Ghost of the Shell, in my opinion, are great anime. I think a lot of you would agree as well. But I just want to talk about, I just watched the first 17 to 18 episodes of Full Metal Alchemist, and I really like the characters. I really like Ed and I really like Al. I like this Brotherhood. I like now. I'm watching the original, not the Brotherhood yet. I'm watching the one from 2003. Ed and Al's relationship, it's something special, and I think what anime does really well compared to other sorts of genres and dramas, I think it's really good at capturing the human essence. I remember feeling, at times heavy senses of emotion watching Cowboy Bebop, and the Monster was the most recent anime that I watched before Full Metal Alchemist. And something about anime that's beautiful is them being able to capture the human essence, our deepest emotions, our sense of love and compassion. That's just my opinion. I think they're really good. There's so many different anime that are good at capturing that essence. And my first impressions of Full Metal Alchemist are pretty good. I have to say I really enjoy it so far. I hear that Brotherhood is similar, but it differs. It follows the manga more closely than the original Full Metal Alchemist. The original, according to a lot of people, says that it goes its own way and creates its own story that's different than the manga. But I really like the characters Ed and Al. They're super likable. I've heard people comment and say there's some filler episodes in Full Metal Alchemist. Of the 50 episodes so far, I haven't really noticed any filler episodes. I feel like every episode's been pretty consistent. Without getting into big spoilers, one of the best episodes that I've watched so far is the episode where there was a scientist performing experiments on a girl and a pet, if you will. And if you know the episode, you know the episode. I thought that was one of the most heart gripping episodes, honestly. Um, I really felt that one. That for sure, in my opinion, might be the best episode that I've watched so far. But I'm really impressed with this show. I'm really late to this party. I mean, this show came out 24 years ago, which is just insane to believe. That's insane, people. But it did. 2003 was that many years ago. And I want to know your thoughts. What do you think of Full Metal Alchemist? Do you like it better than Brotherhood? A lot of people are saying Brotherhood they like better. Well, the people that I've interacted with so far, they say that they like Brotherhood even more. I haven't watched Brotherhood yet. I feel like I was going to watch the original first and then go on to Brotherhood. But where do you think? What is your favorite episode of Full Metal Alchemist? Let me know in the comments. Don't spoil it for me of what happens in the end. I think it's cool the concept of finding this philosopher's stone so they can reverse their bodily defects, right? And I think it's a great story of how, they wanted to resurrect. This isn't a big spoiler. This is the background. If you'd ever watched Full Metal Alchemist, it's a well known fact that the brothers, Ed and Al, want to resurrect their mother. And through alchemy, there's this huge, terrible, the reaction to their experiment went awry, and it turned Al, of course, into this metal figure, and Ed loses his arm and leg, and which is why they're on this quest to get the philosopher's stone to make things right, to make themselves normal again. And I don't know how to explain it. And this anime, it's childish, but it also has a lot of adult elements to it as well. I would say it is meant for teenagers, not for little kids, because there's some adult humor in there. Like a lot of anime, that's another thing about anime I've noticed over the years. I think a lot of people off the bat who've never watched anime, they assume that it's for kids. But I have just about every aspect of anime have come to realize or witness that anime is actually mostly for adults, has a lot of adult humor in it. And if you're a kid and you're able to pick up on those jokes, then good for you. You get to reap the benefits of anime from even an even younger age. But my first impressions of Full Metal Alchemist are really good. So far, still though, my two favorite anime of all time are Cowboy Bebop and Monster. Those two are still my favorite It's really hard to beat those two, in my opinion, for me so far. And I really like Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell was really well done. You could say maybe I haven't watched enough anime. Maybe I haven't watched a lot like other people have, and that's true. I have a limited resume or catalog of the anime that I have watched, but I like to think that I have a good taste in the anime that I have watched so far. Based on the titles that I've said, maybe you'll agree with me. I can't forget about Dragon Ball Z, but I have to go back to Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, the Indigo League, what we grew up with in the late 90s, or I grew up in the late 90s. So that was the biggest thing in the world. I mean, Pokemon was so big that it had its own little store within a store back in the day. I think it was at Dillard's. This is where it had most of its store, or its, array within the mall was in the Dillard's, the Pokemon store. It was such a big deal. And Dragon Ball Z, of course, has always been a cult following. But my first impression, and I just now realized I finished 18 episodes. So my first impression of the first 18 episodes of 50 of Full Metal Alchemist is good. I definitely think it's good. I'm not going to compare it yet to Cowboy Bebop or Monster because it's too early in the show or series to compare it to something like that. But I really like it so far. I can see why it's a big deal, why a lot of people liked it, and I'm really looking forward as well to watching Brotherhood. I'm curious to see what happens there. So let me know in the comments what you think of Fullmetal Alchemist, the one from 2003. Curious to know your thoughts, and like this video if you liked what you watched, and feel free to subscribe to my channel where I plan on doing more, of course, movie reviews, TV show reviews, anime reviews, and book reviews. Right now I'm currently reading Doctor Sleep by Stephen King. I had just finished 11/22/63, which I really liked. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a good rest of your week. It's um it's a joy to come on here and relate and talk to people about things that interest you, or people that you can relate to based on your hobbies. So let me know in the comments your thoughts on Full Metal Alchemist. I'm curious to know. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Thanks for watching if you made it this far.